Hello and welcome to Intentional Photography. Welcome to a ban on everything except essential travel in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So I'm stuck here at home. Fortunately, at home still gives me a few acres to roam about, so I thought I'd take advantage of that today and not just do a video for the sake of video, but also give you a little something that hopefully will be of interest to you today. Today I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to talk about gear. I know I've done that in the last couple of videos, but it's not something that I'm going to continue to do. The lens I'm using for the exercise today is a Yongnuo 50mm f1.8. Its aperture range is f1.8 to f22. And as you saw, the pine cone is situated about 6 feet away from the camera itself. But shooting down the log will give us an idea and help us to judge correctly about the depth of field. So what should we expect as we work our way up from f1.8 to f22? Well, first of all, at the lower end, or the more wide open aperture, we're going to get much faster shutter speeds. As we work our way up, the shutter speeds are going to increase in duration because, as I spoke to you once before, an exposure takes a certain amount of light. If that amount of light is, say, equivalent to a 5-gallon bucket, you can fill that bucket with a fire hose or a garden hose. Obviously, the garden hose is going to take longer. The garden hose being f22, a smaller aperture, so it's going to take a longer exposure time to fill the bucket, if you follow my analogy. So we're going to get that for one thing. The other thing we're going to get, and this is mainly what I want to look at, is a depth of field. At f1.8, our background should be absolutely, totally out of focus. The trees that are at the end of the log, since I'm shooting into the woods, should be just a complete blur. As we work our way towards f22, they're going to become more and more in focus. And you'll notice also the little tendrils, I don't even know what to call them, that are coming up from the moss that's on the log. You'll be able to see the difference in how many of those are in sharp focus. What does this do? Well, if you're trying to do portraits, particularly outside, and you want to just completely blur the background so it's not distractive in any way, then you want to use that smaller number, that wider aperture, to throw that background out. So knowing what your lenses do, that's going to help you in most anything. Sometimes even you want to throw the background out if you're doing an intimate landscape type of thing. Now, this particular lens is very inexpensive. That's one of the reasons I'm testing it. I have a Nikkor 50mm that, it's the brand of the camera, and it's most probably a better lens. But what will this one do, particularly for the little bit of a price I paid for it? And it may be completely adequate for most tasks. And as I spoke before, when I was talking about photography on a budget, we need to sometimes be as frugal as we can, depending on the budget. But you need to remember one thing when it comes to lenses. The lens controls everything that goes to the sensor. Used to be the lens controlled everything that went to the film. And what held the film so much didn't make so much difference, but it was the glass that made the difference in the quality of the photos. Now, different sensors have different qualities, different brands have different dynamic ranges and such as that. That's why one person might prefer a Canon over a Nikon, over a Pentax, over a Olympus. Name your flavor and take your choice. But knowing what your equipment can do and knowing what its limitations are going to be a great help in whatever type of photography you're trying to do. So with all that said, let's take the shots, let's go back, get them into post-processing, and see what we end up with. First of all, my apologies to those of you who might be viewing this on the phone. That grid is going to be awfully small. But my question is, why didn't it work? Or at least it doesn't look like it worked. I mean, if you look going through all the pictures, the difference between f1.8 and f22 is so slight as to be inconsequential. Why didn't it work? Well, it's because depth of field is affected by more than just the aperture. It's also affected by the length of focus. How far are you from your subject? At 6 feet, 5 to 6 feet as I actually measured it, the depth of field difference between f1.8 and f22 is only a matter of inches. Now, when you get out to so many feet, that changes. At f22, by the time you reach 20 feet, everything from 20 feet out is completely in focus. I mean, it's infinity at that point. So why didn't it work? Because that length of focus has a great deal to do with the depth of field as well. So now I have no model with me today, except Tom just showed up again and he won't stay still long enough. So I'll use myself as a model. And I'm going to work through just a few of the f-stops. I'm not going to work all the way up through the 9 that I chose previously. But notice the difference that it makes. f1.8, the background is going to be fairly blurred, I should think. I haven't looked at them in post-production yet, of course. And f22, the background is going to be more clear. So understand that not only does aperture control depth of field, but also focal distance, not focal length now, focal distance, how far you are from your subject, is going to matter. So let's take a look at my self-portraits and see what the depth of field did in those. And I'm taking myself from about 15 to 18 feet away from the camera. So you've seen the portraits. Hopefully that helps you understand how depth of field works and how that is also affected by your distance from your subject. So maybe you can use this the next time you're out when a friend says, hey, can you grab a couple of photos of me? This will give you an opportunity to practice that. If you've enjoyed what you've seen in the video today, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this content, please subscribe, or if you have comments of what I could do better, different, or items that you'd love for me to cover in a video, drop those down in the comments. You'll have to scroll down to be able to do that. Most of all, thanks for watching.